Good afternoon. Welcome to Mommy's Pocketbook, episode 23. And Mommy's Pocketbook is a weekly foray into yesteryear and what the youth and young adults of the 60s, 70s, and 80s were listening to, what was hot in the street. If you ever get the opportunity to see inside a woman's purse, consider yourself blessed and very, very lucky. But know this, you can find out a lot about that woman based on what's in her purse. So, me discovering Mommy's Pocketbook is discovering her musical interest, that of her friends and her peers and her family members, who she was very close with. And without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Each week we take 10 7-inch 45 records out of Mommy's Pocketbook, and we discuss the artists, the writers, the producers, and the record label. And, we just have a good time listening to music. A little bit, gotta keep a little bit of a overlap because the copyright goons are heavy on my tail all the time. And so I don't want them to interfere with that. So, therefore, we gotta sometimes toe the line a little bit. Anyway, so if you hear me talking a little bit more over music, it's because I want to play only certain little bits of it so that the copyright goons don't try to take me down. But other than that, I want you to take this ride with me. And we're going to start it off with the first of our 10 selections out of Mommy's Pocketbook. I'm sorry, I never ever introduced myself. I'm assuming that you've been here before. I'm Zombie. I'm taking you on this ride. Of course, this is my channel if you're on here. Zombie to the Rhythm on Twitch. If you're viewing this after the fact, you already know who it is because you had to go to my page. Kane Dizzle on YouTube. Anyway, so Zombie presents Mommy's Pocketbook. 10 old school classics sprinkled with tidbits of information from me. Our first out of our box, of our bag pocketbook, is from Dorothy Moore. Dorothy Moore is an R&B singer from Jackson, Mississippi. She was started off as a lot of our singers started off with gospel, and then of course they got into gospel, R&B, soul and R&B. You might know her for her hit "Misty Blue" from 1976. 16 weeks on that chart, and it peaked at number 3, number 2 on the R&B charts. And she also, by the way, Misty Blue was a country song when it was previously recorded 10 years before that by Wilma Burgess in 1966, okay? She also had a couple of other hits, lower hits. Funny How Time Slips Away, which was formerly by Willie Nelson, and it was a number 7 R&B hit for her. Also, she hit with I Believe You, which we played in several shows in the past, which was a number 27 pop chart hit for her and top 10 R&B hit for her in 1977. This is released on Malaco Records. I'll bring it up here so you can see Malaco. That's what the record label cover looks like. Malaco label in the 80s. She was also on Malaco from back in, the 70s until the 80s, where she left for a small time and went to the Volt label, which had been reactivated at that time, because if you've been paying attention or watching the show regularly, you know that Volt did disband around that foray into disco time. And so she recorded 2 LPs for them, and then she returned in the 90s back to Malaco and released a holiday album in 2002. So you got people who are longevity in the business, even though you may not know them, their names might be a little obscure to you. They were out here in these streets making bangers, okay? Anyway, let's get into it. It's Dorothy Moore. We're going to listen to Here It Is. This was written by King Floyd.
Right now.
singer-songwriter from Louisiana. And, you know, from the 60s and 70s, he was doing his thing in the industry, and you know him for that jam. That's his biggest hit. It's also produced by James Stroud, Tom Crouch. Those were record label execs, as well as artists and songwriters of their and producers of their own right.
There's no reservation. Honey, here it is. Baby, here it is. Oh, here it is. I just got to say it plain. You'll never, ever be the same. 'Cause here it is. Honey, here it is. Ever since I was a kid, old folks dug on what I did. Here it is. Baby, here it is. If you have it in it, complication. Don't be direct, there's no reservation. Here it is. Honey, here it is. Baby, here it is. You can have it, baby. Honey, here it is. It belongs to you.
Yes, here it is right there. She said it belongs to you. Okay, Dorothy. Okay. Anyway, so she's got a lot of accolades in her lifetime too, along with being in the industry for several decades. We're gonna listen to the hit that I talked about before, 1976, 16 weeks on the pop chart, number 3 hit, Misty Blue, yes, by Dorothy Moore. And like I was saying, she has a lot of accolades. Not only is she the singer that you just heard, you know, she received the Mississippi Governor's Award for Excellence in the Arts, member of the Mississippi Musicians Hall of Fame, as well as a member of the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame.
Oh, it's been such a long, long time. Look like I get you off of my mind, but I can't. Just the thought of you turns my whole world misty blue. Oh, honey, just the mention of your name turns the flicker to a flame. Listen to me, good baby. I think of the things we used to do, and my whole world turns misty blue. Oh, baby, I should forget you. Heaven knows I've tried.
Let that ride in the background for a minute. Talk about the writer Bob Montgomery, singer-songwriter, producer, publisher. His wife Carol also was in the industry and was a backup singer at Nashville and Music Muscle Shoals for about 20 years. And she sang backup for Elvis, Bob Dylan, Marie Osmond, Dolly Parton, Jerry Lee Lewis, and so many more. 20 years in the game, she had to sing a lot of background for a lot of different artists. Malaco Records, started by Tommy Couch, Wolf Stevenson, Stuart Madison. Back when they were in college, they wanted to find a way to book artists to perform for fraternity parties, and so they made kind of like an entertainment corporation. I promise I can talk. They made like an entertainment company that could do this, and so after they graduated, Tommy started Malaco Attractions with his brother-in-law Mitchell Maloof, and so together you got Tommy Couch, you got Mitchell Maloof, and you've got forgetting someone. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Tommy Couch. You got Mitchell, who was one of his other partners. And then you got Maloof. And together, Mitchell, Maloof, and Couch became Malaco. That's how they came up with the name. Anyway, so they ended up getting together with a guy called Wardell Curzigay, who agreed to bring artists to their studios and, you know, to get studio time and access to session musicians, and all, you know, in exchange for, you know, letting them release their records through Malaco. And they bought 5 artists, and they had a mega session. And out of that session came 2 really, really, really big hits. I already mentioned one, King Floyd III's Groove Me, which hit number 6 on the pop charts and number 1 on the R&B charts in 1971. And it was passed on and picked up, distributed by Atlantic, so it became mega, 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 mega big like that. And G Knight's Mr. Big Stuff, which was number 2 on the pop charts, number 1 on the R&B charts, which was also picked up and distributed further by Stax record label. So that was Dorothy Moore, Misty Blue, and here it is, the first of our 10 songs we've chosen out of Mommy's Pocketbook. Let's go to number 2. It's from somebody you know and love. And also, where's my... Oh, I don't... Anyway, give them their flowers while they're still... Well, you know what? I'm really bothered by the fact that I don't see my little flowers thing, my little staff. But anyway, give them their props while they're still here. It's none other than Gladys Knight and the Pips. And I didn't give you the heads up, but for this episode, I'm going to be playing the B-sides before I play the A-sides. So in case you wonder why I didn't play the hit, which was Misty Blue first, that's why. And again, it's hot in here. I had a little sweat rag somewhere. Don't know where it went. Probably sat on it. Don't know. Anyway, so you know about... Wait a minute. I'm all out of whack. This is not even the second song. The next one that comes from one of my mom's favorites. And you still know them and love them, and they are still here. So give them their flowers while they are still here. It's none other than Diana Ross. My mom has a lot of Diana Ross and Supreme's records because she likes her voice and she likes their voices. So we're going to listen to the B-side first. It's called No One's Gonna Be a Fool Forever. A little bit of background about Diana Ross, Diane Ernestine Earl, as she was born under, and from Detroit, breakout lead singer of the Supremes. You knew that already. One of the most successful groups of all time. Of course, the breakout group success of girl groups of all time. I mean, every girl group wishes they could be a Supreme, but you could never, hunty. I'm just saying. In my opinion. Anyway, but no, facts. You can't be as big as the Supremes. Maybe Destiny Child, but I don't know. Maybe they'll talk. We don't really talk about Destiny Child now, but look who we still talk about. The Supremes. Okay? Anyway, she's also an actress. She was in Lady Sings the Blues, which was nominated for an Academy Award, so she ain't no slouch when it comes to the acting chops. Mahogany, The Wiz. She even had her own Broadway show and called An Evening with Diana Ross back in 1976. She's gotten the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, of course, a BET Achievement Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, of course, also. That was in 2007. The Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award was in 2012. She was also celebrated in 2019 with a documentary called Diana Ross, Her Love, and Legacy. Okay? And this year, 25th solo album came out. So get into it. Again, give her flowers while she is still here. And fun fact about Diana Ross, Miss Diana, other than the fact that she's also an entertainment mommy, the mother of Tracy Ellis Ross and Evan Ross, both actors. Another fun fact. Well, I'll tell you the fun fact later. Let's get into No One's Gonna Be a Fool Forever. Written by Michael Masser and Pam Sawyer. Let's get into it.
Darling, you know you've got the cruelest streak. You only say you love me just to keep me weak. Your loving words have kept me here for many years. I'm leaving, I'll face the tears. You know that no one's gonna be a fool forever. Ain't no one gonna be a fool for life. No one's gonna be a fool forever. This fool is gonna say goodbye. Beautiful plans are hard to forget. You promised me a family, a little girl with braids sticking off to school. A part of you and me will never be. You know that no one's gonna be a fool forever. Ain't no one gonna be a fool for life. No one's gonna be a fool forever. This fool is gonna say goodbye.
Okay, you tell him, Diana. You probably making all these promises, and I ain't seen nothing yet. No one's gonna be a fool forever.
Forever, this fool is gonna say goodbye.
Okay, bye. Yes, written by Michael Masser, Pam Sawyer. Pam Sawyer, English producer, writer, songwriter. She's known for also "If I Were Your Woman" by Gladys Knight and the Pips, #1 on both sides, pop and R&B in 1971. Love Child for the Supremes, she wrote that too. #1 in 1968, including she co-wrote with Jermaine Dupri, "The First Night." Well, and there's other writers that contributed to "The First Night," but "The First Night" by Monica from 1998. She's co-writing credit on that too. Top that. Anyway, Michael Masser, you know him, songwriter, producer, and a musician from Chicago. You know him from a lot of things, from a lot of songs, especially Mahogany, Ali's theme from the movie The Greatest, "Saving All My Love for You" by Whitney Houston. So Michael Masser is top producing material right there. Yes, that's a word right there. If I ever heard one. Church say amen. Amen. Because no one is going to be a fool forever. This fool is going to say goodbye. The next side we have is the hit side, the A side. It's going to be the theme from Mahogany. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life has shown you? We're about to find out, or we're about to just marinate and think about it. Written by Michael Masser again, along with the lyricist and songwriter Gerald Goffin.
Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Do you get what you're hoping for when you look behind you? There's no open doors. What are you hoping for? Do you know? Once we were standing still in time, chasing the fantasies that filled our minds. You knew how I loved you, but my spirit was free, laughing at the questions that you once asked of me. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know?
So I said I was going to give you a fun fact about Diana Ross. So you remember the movie Bodyguard? It was like really big back in, what was that, 1992? Well, that was written by Lawrence And back in 1976, they were going to cast Diana Ross and Steve McQueen to play the parts of the pop star and the bodyguard. But it never came to fruition. So 16 years later, in 1992, it was made with Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. And it went on to be mega successful in the award category, especially for the soundtrack. So many, if not all of the songs from the soundtrack sang by Whitney Houston have won awards. And I don't recall actually even seeing it because I'm not into love movies. But I heard it was a good movie. Anyway, just a little fun fact. Another fun fact about Diana Ross is another guy called Lawrence Turod, a.k.a. Mr. T, was once her bodyguard. From Mahogany, Do You Know Where You're Going To? It's a very nice song. It's very lullaby-ish to me. Kind of want to lay down just now, but not that I'm sleepy. I just want to lay down and reflect, Anyway, like one does. Let's get to our number 3 of our choices. Something just flew out, in case you're not looking. The rag that I shine up the records and get the little dust off just flew out, and I got a little shaking. But anyway, nothing's happened over here. Got a little crack in it. We're going to hope that this plays through without skipping over that. As I've said before, these records haven't been stored in quite great condition, so some of them are a little rugged. But we're going to work it out and try to keep them as safe as possible from now on and be all right with that. So this next artist, number 3 out of our 10 choices out of Mommy's Pocketbook, is Linda Jones, a soul singer from Jersey. She's noted for her gospel-influenced style and also her powerful vocal acrobatics. And she began singing at 6 years old, singing with her siblings in a gospel group called the Jones Singers. And then as a teen, she started performing with rhythm. I don't know why I'm always stuttering. She started performing rhythm and blues music and put her first solo record under her name as Linda Lane in 1963. It was a cover of Lonely Teardrops, but the record kind of disappeared and didn't really make that much noise in the industry. So it wasn't until she met George Kerr, who was singing with Little Anthony and the Imperials, but he was also a songwriter and producer. She ended up landing a deal with Loma Records. They did a couple of records. They didn't really do too much either, but her first record for the label was the hit Hypnotize. You know that song. So Hypnotize from 1967 hit number 21 on the pop charts and number 4 on the R&B charts. Fortunately, it was her only major hit. And I say major because major just means it was 40 or less on the top charts. But like I always say, especially in the black culture, it don't have to be a hit on the mainstream radar for it to be a hit on the streets. So, with that said, let's get into What Can I Do Without You by Linda Jones. A little crackly. Matter of fact, let's start that one over. Let's see something. I thought I saw a little piece of dust dragging around. Get out of here, dust. Shine her up a little bit. Alright, let's start her over and see if we can get some better sound. Not really. Sometimes it style and powerful vocal acrobatics. And you heard it. I know you heard that. You heard all those flips.
Don't you know I've been weeping? Oh, I'm wanting to you. Don't you hear me crying, children? And I just don't know what I'm gonna do. Won't somebody help me in there? Sometimes I wake up in the middle house and tears rolling all down my face. What can I do, baby? I get up in the middle hour and pour my problems so baby. I wake up late from the telephone sometime in the morning. I'm getting down on my knees and ask you, baby, what can I do, darling? Oh, yeah. What can I do, baby? Oh,
Linda better come through with those runs, okay? That was Linda Jones with What Can I Do Without You. We're going to listen to the other side. It's a cover song, which you know, it's been covered several times by different artists. Let's give this one a little spin around with a little brush too, so we can get some of this dust off that we might have missed with the ride. And let me give you a little bit of information about this one. It's called Yesterday. It's written by, you know, we're awfully crackly, and I'm starting to feel like it's a needle. Let's give it a little wipe while we talk. So it's a cover of John Lennon, and like I said, this one it has a crack in it. It's like a line fracture right through it, like it could split in half. So the fact that it even played all the way through without skipping is fantastic. But see, we can get some of this extra other little dust out of here so we can get a little more silence and a little more music. Anyway, you know John Lennon, you know Paul McCartney. Not only were they singers as part of the music sensation that took over the world, the Beatles, but they were also songwriters. And this is one of the songs they wrote for their band, the Beatles. It was covered very many times, and you know it, you love it. It's called Yesterday, but this is Linda Jones again.
yesterday,
I don't know what that little click sound is.
love was such an easy game to play. Now I need some place to hide away. Lord, for I believe yesterday. Ooh, oh, now suddenly. Lord, I'm not the woman that I used to be. Oh, Lord, there's shadow hanging over me. Yeah, 'cause I believe yesterday. Now, why did the man have to go? Lord, I just don't know. Oh, please stay. But one more thing I've got to say. Lord, I've never done nothing wrong. Oh,
She better sing it.
now I know for it today. Lord, yesterday. To hide away, oh, 'cause I believe yesterday. Oh, yeah.
Yes, Yesterday. Linda Jones, cover of John Lennon and Paul McCartney's Yesterday. I thought it was a wonderful rendition, if you ask me. This was released on Loma Records. You probably have never heard of Loma Records. What Loma Records was, founded in 1964, it was the R&B unit of Warner Brothers. It was active until 1968, so only 4 years. Then that roster was folded into its parent label, Warner. The president was Bob Krasnow, who soon founded Blue Thumb Records. and after Loma was shut down, and later led to Elektra and Asylum Records in its most profitable period. So basically, it got kind of shoveled into that Elektra Asylum area during that time, and it was a sub label under that, but it also helped contributed to why they were so profitable during 1974 to 1982. So, and Loma had artists like J.J. Jackson, Ike and Tina Turner on their roster at times, members of James Brown's band doing solo gigs, because you know a lot of them cut records on Brownstone, which is Brown's label, so Brown was still getting that coin. But when you wanted to get all your coin to yourself, you did a side deal, maybe on Loma. Lorraine Ellison, The 3 Degrees, Red Fox was also on Loma, and this was after Frank Sinatra had intervened in a dispute that he had going on with a contract with another record label called Duto. It might be Duto, but I don't know. Back in 1966, so you know, comedy gang. So that was That was Linda Jones right there. That was our number 3 out of our 10 chosen out of Mommy's Pocketbook today. Not chosen on purpose, chosen at random. So we just kind of picked a couple. The next one, you know them, you love them. Give her flowers while she is here. It is Gladys Knight and the Pips, but Gladys Knight, we know, is still out here doing her thing, acting and everything. It's R&B soul family group from Atlanta. It was Gladys, sister Brenda, brother Merrill, Bubba Knight, and cousins Eleanor and William Guest, and they were formed in 1952. 1952. Did I just tell you this woman is still here? Give her flowers. 1952, they started a band. And she's still here. Flawless. Hair always done. Hair done, nails done, everything did. Again, give Gladys Knight her flowers while she is still here. They're called the Pips after their manager / cousin, James Pip Woods. Inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1996. They became one of Motown's most dependable acts, responsible for 11 top 10 R&B hits from 1966 to 1972, included I Heard It Through the Grapevine. 1967, that was number 2 for 3 weeks in the charts. Number 1 R&B for 6 weeks. The Nitty Gritty, it was number 19 on the pop charts, 1969. If I Were Your Woman, that I just mentioned before, written by Pam Sawyer, co-written at least. If I Were Your Woman in 1970, that was a number 9 pop hit, the number 1 R&B hit for a week. And of course, the one that we're about to listen to. But after we listen to the B-side first, because that's what we're doing this week. We're not listening to the hot stuff first. We're going to listen to the B-side first, and then we're going to take it into the banger. So we're going to listen to Can't Give Up No More by Gladys Knight and the Pips.
When here you come calling, after my heart you broken. Let me tell you, honey, the door is no longer open. Now you want my love, but I'm sorry you've been gone too long. Yeah, boy, you gave her the best part of your life, and with her you knew you didn't belong. I can't stand right here, I can hold my head up high.
Can't Give It Up No More, written by David Jones, Johnny Bristol, and Wade Brown Jr. David Jones, Motown songwriter best known for Love Me For a Reason, which was recorded by the Osmonds in 1974, and also another group more recently in 1994 called The Boyzone. Wade Brown Jr. was the co-writer on that. Johnny Bristol, you know him for Hang On In There Baby, his own song, which hit number 8 in the pop charts in 1974. He was a soul singer, songwriter, producer who worked for Motown from 1959 to 1972. And then after, he worked for CBS.
Just don't waste the time. Waste the time, 'cause I'll never take it back again. But I better find it. Oh, can't give it up no more, 'cause I'm much too strong. Oh, I don't need you no more, and I'm glad to go. Can't give it up no more, 'cause I'm much too strong.
Oh yeah, Gladys Knight and the Pips. You might remember that I mentioned that they were Motown's most dependable acts, responsible for all those mega hits, 11 top 10 R&B hits from 1966 to 1972. But this is released on Soul. I don't know if you can see that. Soul Records. But Soul Records is part of Motown. It's a sub-label of the Motown Record Corporation. It was formed in 1964. It was an outlet for the harder-edged, jazz-tinged R&B music, which had started to, attract that, that sort of, I guess, genre or categorization. Soul music, pretty much. So, because remember back in them days, of the beginning of Motown, we were still doing doo-wop. So, we started going into soul and then R&B as the years progressed. So, soul, which unfortunately was not copywritten then, because Motown would have been responsible for Motown sound and soul. But they called it soul because of the way the music style was changing. Anyway, it wasn't considered one of Motown's top 3, like the big name labels that are under Motown, because the big 3 of Motown was Tamla, of course, which was the beginnings of all things. Motown, of course, which was the parent and another label in and of itself, and Gordy, but soul was kind of considered under those. But when you have artists like artists and groups like Gladys Knight and the Pips, it's like you better recognize. So let's listen to the A side, which is, like I was telling you, another one of those hits that they had. And then also know that they doubled their hits with Buddha from 1978. Through 1978, with the second Grammy winner, because the first one was Neither One of Us Wants to Be the First to Say Goodbye, and that's what we're about to listen to. But their second Grammy winner was Midnight Train to Georgia, and that was 1973, number 1 for 2 weeks on the pop charts, number 1 for R&B for 4 weeks. Okay, they also had I've Got to Use My Imagination, The Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me, and these things are still in rotation. I was just watching 9 Perfect Strangers on Hulu, and I believe I've got to Use My Imagination was the outro song to the first episode. So hello, your favorite group or artist could never. Again, flowers from Miss Gladys Knight, because she is still here. Give your people your flowers while they are still here. Neither one of us wants to be the first to say goodbye. Gladys Knight and the Pips.
It's sad to think we're not gonna make it, and it's gotten to the point where we just can't make it. What I'm gonna do without you. And I guess you must be wondering that same thing too. So we go on together, living the night. Because neither one of us wants to be the first to say goodbye. Every time I find the nerve, every time I find the nerve to say I'm leaving. Oh, memories, those old memories, get in my way.
I don't know if I gave you the stats. In 1973, this song was on number 2 on the Billboard charts for 2 weeks, and number 1 in the R&B charts for 4 weeks. Written by James Webley, who, before he became a singer and songwriter, he was on his way to be a football star, All-American quarterback for University of Mississippi. So he felt more passion for entertainment, so he turned to music. Sometimes it happens in life, and they give you hits, they get Grammys. So kudos to him for making that turn and that fork in the road. Work for him.
And convincing ourselves to give it just one more try. Because neither one of us wants to be the first to say it. Neither one of us wants to be the first to say it. Neither one of us wants to be the first to say
Now, I mentioned that Soul Records wasn't one of the big 3 as far as Motown is concerned about its maiden label and its subsidiaries. The big 3 were Motown, Tamla, and Gordy. So, but it was their longest lived, one of their longest lived imprints. So it outshined and outsurvived Tamla and Gordy. So tap that, okay? Let's get into our number 5 choice out of our 10 to be selected randomly from Mommy's Pocketbook. It is from the Shy-Lights. The Shy-Lights are an R&B vocal group from Chicago. You have Eugene Record, Robert Lester, Marshall Thompson, and Credo Jones. Eugene Record was married to Barbara Acklin, who was also in the industry. During the early 1970s, they racked up 11 top 10 R&B songs. You might know, Have You Seen Her? From 1971. Number 3 in the pop charts, number 1 in the R&B charts for 2 weeks. And Oh Girl, from 1972, number 1 for 1 week on the pop charts, and number 1 R&B for 2 weeks. Let's get into this one. I'll give you a little bit more tidbits of information sprinkled throughout the song. It's called The Devil is Doing His Work.
devil is doing his work, y'all. Yeah, 24 hours a day, yeah. When you hear that coming, is doing his work, y'all.
Yes, the devil is doing his work. The Shawlights, when they signed their record deal in 1968 with Brunswick Records, which is who released this song, they had already been around for almost a decade. But when they signed for them, they had a hit the following year called Give It Away. It was their first national hit. It hit number 10 in the R&B charts. And then they had a couple of lineup changes in the 1970s, with the original lineup reforming in 1980. They recorded for Eugene Records in 1982, and they had a hit with Hot on a Thing Called Love. I'm sorry, I can't read my own writing. Hot on a Thing Called Love. It hit number 15 in the R&B charts. Then they moved over to Lark Records and had their final top 10 hit, Bottoms Up. Another lineup change, and that version of the Shawlights became a regular on the oldies and soul circuit during the 90s, of tours and things like that. Drummer and percussionist, and Eugene Record, one of the band members, who wrote and produced many of their hits, but he also provided hits for other artists. He released 3 solo albums himself, also in the 70s, before he rejoined the Shawlights in the 80s. Yes, that was the Shawlights with The Devil Is Doing His Work. That was a nice little groove right there. I could cut a rug to that. Do a jig. I could Millie rock to that if I wanted to. Running Man, all of that. I could probably whip and nay-nay to it too. I don't know. Very versatile, that groove. Anyway, let's listen to the other side. It's called I'm Not a Gambler. Also written by Eugene Record, who was part of the band, and soul producer, singer, arranger, songwriter Sonny Sanders. Fun fact, the 2003 smash song Crazy in Love by Beyonce was created by sampling the work of a recording of Are You My Woman, which was by the Shawlights.
For a night on the town, guess the cats will play when the kitty is away. Where there are men, you'll find the ladies. Oh, the temptation, and I'm only a man. I'm just a man. Deeper than the eye can see, and I cannot change my direction. Taking a chance with sorrow, taking a chance on tomorrow. Cause I'm a little misplaced love. Once I spin the fortune wheel,
highlights I'm Not a Gambler. This was released on Brunswick Records, which Brunswick first began with, a little skippy going on. It began producing phonographs in 1966. It didn't really get into actually producing records as in music that you listen to until after it was purchased by Warner Brothers, and that was in 1930s. Then starting in like the late 50s and into the 70s, that's when they started recording more soul acts, beginning with Jackie Wilson's Reed Petite in 1957. And then, of course, they introduced numerous other hits to the R&B and pop charts for nearly 20 years, including Tyrone Davis. I've just mentioned Barbara Acklin, who was married to Eugene Record, and Young Hot Unlimited, and releases for Gene Chandler, from the Duke of Earl fame, Irma Franklin, who was the sister of the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, and Little Richard. Also, T-Bone Walker. By the time it stopped producing in 1982, it had more than 150 Billboard charted singles. So, don't sleep, even though you never heard of Brunswick, or have you? I don't know your musical prowess, but I can tell you that that was not a name that was getting thrown around regularly when you talked about naming record labels as I was growing up. But if you were back in them days, maybe you knew something. But I can tell you right now, this is probably the first entry that I've had doing Mommy's Pocketbook where I've entered an artist who was from the Brunswick label. So let's get into our fifth of our 10 chosen randomly from Mommy's Pocketbook. It's from The Intruders, an R&B funk group from Philly. It featured Sam Brown, Eugene Daughtry, Phil Terry, Robert Edwards, okay? And they were the first group to score hits with the songwriting production team of Gamble and Huff. Yes, they played a major role in the rise of the Philadelphia soul. And they get kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit amongst better-known acts such as the OJs and Harold Melvin and the Blue Nuts, but don't sleep, because the Intruders walked so they could run. They were originally formed as a doo-wop group in 1960 and sang around Philly for several years, and then they signed with Gamble record label in 1966, scoring a top 20 R&B hit that year with We'll Be United, and followed it up that year later with a song called Together. Their 1968 was their breakthrough year with Cowboys to Girls, which was on the pop charts and peaked at number 6 and number 1 on the R&B charts and stayed there for 1 week. And they became kind of like a template for what they became. They became a template for what would become Philly's soul's trademark sound, or the Philly sound. And their biggest hit was also that Cowboys to Girls. Sorry. Gamble and Huff's success with the Intruders helped convince Columbia to grant them money to launch Philadelphia International Records, which became the most successful soul label of the early 70s. So, the Intruders walked so everybody else from the Philly sound could run. We're going to get into Tender Was the Love We Knew first, okay? Not necessarily a banger chart-wise, but no less. Let's get into it.
For the rest of my life, the moments I share with you, baby. And you were my most everything that girls are. Oh, I wanna get along. Get along. They go for I've gotta remember when loneliness was gone, and how it's back as I see all along, baby, all along. Oh, you are my companion, every wish and dreams. Oh, I live when you lose your love, things can go on a stream to another.
Tender Was the Love We Knew, performed by the Intruders, written by Gamble and Huff, legendary funk, soul, disco, R&B producers, songwriters, duo. If it's a Gamble and Huff thing, it's a Gamble and Huff thing. Founders of the label, like I just talked about, Philadelphia International Records, founded in 1971 and distributed by CBS, which at the time was helmed by Clive Davis. They created and developed the Philadelphia soul music genre known as the Philly Sound in the 1970s. And together they have written and produced over 175 gold and platinum records, earning them an induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as non-performers, because sometimes that happens to like artists who are also movers and shakers behind the scenes in the music industry. Not just the singers and the people in the band get the awards. Sometimes the producers do too. Let's get into the B-side. It's called By the Time I Get to Phoenix. I wonder what's going to happen. Let's see.
By the time I get to Phoenix, she'll be rising. She'll find that note I left hanging on her door. She'll laugh when she reads the part that says I'm leaving, 'cause I've left that girl so many times before. And by the time I make out the curtain, she'll be working. She'll probably stop at lunch and give me a call. But she'll just see that phone keep on ringing. Off the wall, that's all. And by the time I make Oklahoma, she'll be sleeping. She'll turn softly and call my name out loud. She'll cry just to think I really need her. Oh, time and time I've tried to tell her so. She just didn't know I would really go.
By the Time I Get to Phoenix, The Intruders, written by Jimmy Webb, popular music composer, responsible for writing numerous popular top 10 hits. This was released on Gamble Records, one of the original labels started by Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff. The other was Neptune Records. When Gamble and Huff founded Philadelphia International Records in 1971, Gamble was made an imprint for Philadelphia International Records. And then they folded Neptune into that. So it was active between 1966 and 1973. Then it was folded and reorganized as the Sound of Philadelphia, TSOP. The Intruders were the biggest act on the Gamble record label. Originally independent, but when Philadelphia International Records was founded, it was distributed by CBS. Because remember, Columbia is who fronted the money. So that's how that works. Anyway, that was the Intruders. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's get into Candy Staton. Not to be confused with the saxophone jazz artist Candy Stanton, because these are two different people. Candy Staton, with no N before the T, was born Canzetta Staton in Huntsville, Alabama. Here's a fun fact. She was once married to Clarence Carter. I'll be stroking. That's what I'll be doing. Only for 3 years, 1970 and 1973. She was an R&B singer. She sang with the Jewel Gospel as a teenager, and they toured traditional gospel circuit in the 1950s, and then with the Soul Stirrers, C.L. Franklin and Mahalia Jackson. So they were cutting their teeth in a major way for gospel groups. And they recorded several sides for Nashboro Records, Apollo Records, and Savoy Records from 1953 to 1963. So they had, like I said, they cut their teeth the right way. They toured around. They toured with bigger acts that would give them more notoriety, and they cut sides, which pretty much means they cut actual tracks. So in 1968, she launched her solo career as a Southern soul stylist. 16 hits for Rick Hall's legendary Fame Studios, gaining the title of the First Lady of Southern Soul. And Grammy-nominated R&B renditions of country tunes, Stand By Your Man and In the Ghetto. In 1975, Staton moved into, she started noticing the Southern soul wasn't getting, it kind of was falling out of fashion of sorts. And so she began collaborating with producer Dave Crawford, who propelled her into the disco diva with the dance songs Young Hearts Run Free, that, Young Hearts Run Free, and Victim. So 1982, she was kind of like a little bothered by Warner Brothers, felt like she was kind of being looked over in her career, and her career kind of was taking a little bit of a slump, so she returned to gospel. And she recorded 8 popular gospel albums, 2 of which won Grammy nominations. Didn't win, but they won the nomination. And in 1992, she got the top 10 pop hit in Great Britain called You Got the Love, which was a club-style dance hit, but it sold 2 million copies, so there you have it. She did a couple more recordings after that, and then she once again returned to singing gospel. We're going to listen to Soul Blue, that was written by the producer Dave Crawford, who turned her into the disco diva that made Young Hearts Run Free. This is a single 45, meaning that it's just the single on each side. Probably upside down on that side, but anyway. So we'll only be playing one song this round. This is called Soul Blue.
start fixing up my face. Yes, you did. Having cocktails at your favorite place. Oh yeah, a table just for two. Got rid of loneliness. Now that I have you, I became a victim of the very songs I sing. I told you young hearts run free when I didn't listen to myself. Engulfed by the power of love, I just fell right in. Oh yes, I did. Wasn't hardly worried about tomorrow. You were my future. As long as I was being satisfied, I didn't want nothing else. No, baby. And now, already, I'm being left at home. Yes, I am. I wonder what it is that makes a man leave a girl so all alone. Oh, people, another woman is usually the thing. Running around just don't seem to change. I'm a victim. I'm a victim, Lord. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I'm a victim of the very songs I sing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I'm a victim, Lord. I'm a victim.
Written by Dave Prophet. Like I said, Dave Prophet was the one who was helping producer and helped get her on that disco market with Young Hearts Run Free and Victim. Singer-songwriter, keyboard player, producer, acclaimed producer at Atlantic Records, who worked with artists such as the Mighty Clouds of Joy and also B.B. King, as well as Candy Stead. His producing credits often are alongside Brad Shapiro or Earl Young. And as a songwriter, you know him for, like I said, Young Hearts Run Free from Candy Staton and Linda Lytell's What a Man from 1968, as well as the remake from Salt and Pepper, which was in 1994 with In Vogue. This was released on Warner Brothers Records. Warner Brothers, founded in 1958 by Jack Warner as a soundtrack factory for Warner Brothers Film Corporation, or Warner Brothers Movie Studios. They had a lot of sub-labels: Reprise Records, Maverick, Sire. And May 2019, it took 60 years, but they just rebranded it as just Warner Records. And of course, you know where to find it if you want to repress this. Warner Music Group. Let's get into number 8. We're breezing on through of our 10. And it is from Ohio Players, a funk group from Dayton, Ohio, originally called the Ohio Untouchables. Did you know that? They went from Untouchables to Players. I like it. They were the studio house band at Compass Records. And in the mid-60s, they signed to Capitol Records in L.A. Then they ended up moving to Westbound Records in Detroit in 1972. And that's when you got all them hits like Skin Tight, Bim Bim Bim. And fire. So, Skin Tight was 1974, hit number 13 in the pop charts. Fire in 1974 also was number 1 for a whole week in the pop charts. At the same time, number 1 in the R&B charts for 2 weeks. And you also know them for Roller Coaster of Love. Love Roller Coaster from 1975, number 1 for a week on the pop charts and number 1 in the R&B charts at the same time for 1 week. We're about to listen to Only a Child Can Love, written by the Ohio Players themselves, and here we go.
You remember when we was kids? I do. Listen, let me tell you something. Only a child can really love. Listen.
When I was only 4, you were the girl next door. And I loved you so. I only wanted to play, but you would run away. I couldn't get you to say, girl, I love you, but you never look my way. Only your grown man will cry. Little children don't lie. Only the children.
First of all, I want you to get into this musicality, this musicianship. There's so many layers. The bass line, the underlying keys, the highlighting keys, the flick of the lead guitar. It's a lot. But I love it all. I love it all.
Remember what we did. Remember what we did. It used to drive me wild. Only a grown man will cry. Little children don't lie. That's the reason why.
Here comes the percussion. Get into it.
Little teenage heart, I know just what you got. You got such a pure heart. When you were very young, you hadn't got no one. We had a love. Now that I'm growing old, I'm love is gold. That's the reason I know.
I love it. All written by the band right there. Written and produced by the Ohio Players. You can tell too. There's all that musicianship in there. The way those rows are forming in the bottom level. Where those highlights in the keyboard. And then even more. I miss the musicianship in music. I know I say that all the time, but I really do. Anyway, we're going to get into the other side of this record, and it's going to be Far East Mississippi, also written and produced by the band. Which, while we're talking about the band, we had Larry Bonner, Billy Beck, Clarence Satchel, Ralph Middlebrooks, Marshall Jones, and Jimmy Williams. And then with the velvety voice, too. Shh. You just can't. You can still put on Ohio Players today, to this day. And it's vibes. It's just vibes. Nothing but vibes. Let's get into Far East Mississippi. Again, Ohio Players. Again, written and produced by the band.
We ought to
progression of it all, how everything and it just everything complements everything so well. And I always love. I'm a sucker for a good bass line any day. Again, this is Far East Mississippi by Ohio Players. It's released on Mercury Records. Mercury Records was launched in 1945 by Irving Green, Burl Adams, and Arthur Talmadge of the Mercury Record Corporation in Chicago. And then, of course, the Dutch got involved. 1961, Dutch Phonograph Company made a deal with Philips Phonographische Industries (PPI) for distribution. In 1962, PPI made a deal with another Dutch company, Dutch Gramophone GmbH. 10 years later, they merged to form Polygram. Mercury was one of Polygram's flagship labels. And in 1998, Seagram acquired Polygram. Mercury became part of UMG, one of the big dogs, Universal Music Group. If you're looking for more of this fresh off the press, you're going to have to holler at Universal. And that was our number 8. We only have 2 more left on our records that we pulled out of Mommy's Pocketbook. And this is another super group from the 18s, a little bit of 70s, a little bit of 80s also. It's Kool and the Gang. We're going to listen to the B-side first. It's called Doogie. R&B group from Jersey, straight out of Jersey City. They were formed by Robert Kool Bell, his brother Ronald Bell, and also Clay Smith on guitar, Rick Westfield on keys, Dennis Thomas on sax, Robert Mickens on the trumpet, George Brown on the drums. And in 1978, they added James J.T. Taylor as the singer, and Earl Toon replaced Rick Westfield in 1978. So you know them. Oh, didn't know this. Well, maybe you didn't know this, but in the beginning, they were called several different things before they settled on Kool and the Gang, such as the Jazziacs, the Soul Town Band, and Kool and the Flames. Yeah, don't like it. I like Kool and the Gang better, but I don't know. That's because that's the only one I knew beforehand. Anyway, they officially started in 1969, so that was way back before, you know, they really became Kool and the Gang. And you know them for Funky Stuff, 1973. It was number 29 on the pop charts. You know them from Jungle Boogie, also, on the pop charts at number 4 in 1974. Ladies Night, which hit 1979, and number 8 in the charts, number 1 in the R&B charts for 3 whole weeks. And the fun family time song, Celebrate Good Times. Come on. It's a celebration, because Celebration was number 1 on both the pop and R&B charts in 1980. It was on the R&B charts at number 1 for 6 weeks. Also, my man Kool has his own champagne. You can Google it. It's called Le Kool. I have not tried it yet, but give him his flowers. Still here, still getting that coin. And let's get into Doogie, which was written by Rick Westfield of the band. That's what I'm saying. Keep your bands in house. Keep your coins in house, so you don't have to pay that money out. right there. Written by Rick Westfield on keys. You hear him jamming out on the roads right there. Sometimes you see him credited as Westfield. Sometimes Rick. Many times Ricky West. Same guy, same talent. Keyboardist, singer, songwriter. Cool in the Gang. So, this was released, Kool and Gang were on D-Light Records. In 1967, it was distributed by Hip Records, which was Pickwick International Incorporated. They became prominent in disco, soul, and R&B, and one of their first signings was Kool and the Gang, who was also their most successful. Polygram ended up purchasing Pickwick in 1977, and in 1985, Delight was absorbed into Polygram as a sub-label of Mercury Records, which we just talked about. And of course, if you really want to find them now, get a repress of this, reprint of this, or get the rights to it secured, you're going to have to holler at Big Daddy Universal Music Group. Does that not own the rights to this music? Just the records. Yes! Jam session indeed. I miss that. I miss the musicianship. I'm gonna stop saying that. It's getting old. Let's get into the A side of it all. Hollywood swinging. It's Kool and the Gang again with an in-house production. This is written by Rick Westfield, Ricky West, and Kool and the Gang. So the whole band was involved in the writing and putting together of this banger. Let's get it!
Hey, hey, hey! What you got to say? Say, hey, hey, hey! What you got to say? Hollywood swinging. in a gang show. I always wanted to get into a band to sing my songs and become a bad piano playing man. So here I am in this Hollywood city, the city of the stars, movies, women, and cars. Well, I guess I'll stop. Say, hey, 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 what you got to say?
So you might notice a little bit different texture in that voice. That's because this is Hollywood Swingin'. Hollywood Swingin' was released in 1973, 4. It was on the charts in 1974, debuting on those charts at May 1974. On the charts for 11 weeks, peaking at number 6, number 1 for 1 week on the R&B charts. And this was before they added James J.T. Taylor to the roster. He was not a part of the band this time, so that's why you might notice that the vocality is slightly different than what you might know from the 80s, because that was when we had J.T. on the mic. So, altogether, they've got a whole bunch of accolades for them. 2 Grammys, 7 American Music Awards, 25 top 10 R&B hits, 9 top 10 pop hits, 31 gold and platinum albums. Your current fave is out here trying to claim that they're the greatest with like 10 albums, period. 10! You just hear me? They have 31 gold and platinum albums. That's all I got to say. Cool in the game. Our last record of our 10 that we choose out of Mommy's Pocketbook every single week is just a single, so we'll only be playing one song. I get my goodbyes out now. Thank you for tuning in. If it was your first time, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back next time my little Twitch notification comes on next weekend, because we do this each and every Saturday, unless I go on vacation or something. But each and every Saturday, we dig into Mommy's Pocketbook and we just take 10 records out and we discover what they are together. Last song, one of my ultimate faves. If it comes on in the club today, the floor will get filled. Okay, I'm just trying to tell you, and it's from 1982. You hear me? Almost 40 years ago. Almost 40 years ago. This was a jam, a jammy jam, and it's still a jam. Almost 40 years later. It's only a single, so there's only going to be one song going out. It is by singer-songwriter Norman Washington Giscombe Jr., otherwise known as Junior. You know, mostly for this hit that I'm about to play, but he also had a couple of other UK chart-topping hits because he's from the UK. In the early 80s, in 1987, duo with Kim Wilde called Another Step Closer to You. And he was also involved with the formation of Red Wedge in 1986 with Billy Bragg, Jimmy Somerville, and Paul Weller. This is my fave and the dance floor's fave, Junior with Mama Used to Say. The last song of the day, Mommy's Pocketbook, episode 23. me shine this record up real quick because no, it's a little scuffy, but not enough, not scuffy for all that. We're gonna try it one more time because I love that song. To this day, this song comes on in the club. Dance floor gets filled. Let's try it one more again. Junior, Mama used to say, last song. If it skips more this time, we're just gonna keep it moving. It's part of the nature of using wax. They're real sensitive.
Kick it out. Said a small boy once asked, when will I grow up? When will I see what grown-ups do see? In a fight to come of age, he would have to know the age to be recognized as one of not a max. Every young man. Mama used to say, Mama used to say, Mama used to say, Mama used to say, take it in your stride. Mama used to say, live your life. As the years were rushing by, he would cut down on his age. He would tell his girl how it used to be. How his mommy passed away, but these lines she would say, and at the time he couldn't understand. Mama used to say, take your time, young man. Mama used to say, don't you rush to get old. Mama used to say, take it in your stride. Mama used to say, live your life. You're young, so young, don't hold on back. Do all you want to do. Now is the time for you to stride, for you to get better in what you are doing.
Yes, still a banger. Still a banger. Did I give you the stats? I don't think I gave you the stats on this one. The stats on this one is that in 1982, it was a number 30 jam on the Billboard Top 100 and a UK Top 10. And it's the only hit we know from him other than several of the hits that he's had on the UK charts and the UK duet that he had with Kim Wilde in 1987. It said that there was a struggle between different record labels and production companies of how to really market him and his style and his sound. And so when that happens, you kind of get lost in the cracks a little bit. And that's kind of what happened to Junior, unfortunately. But like he said, live your life.
Hey, Mama used to say, take your time, young man. Mama used to say, don't you rush, get old. And Mama used to say, take it in your stride. Mama used to say, hey, 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 hey. Oh, Mama used to say, oh, Mama used to say, oh, Mama used to say, oh, Mama used to say.
All right. Junior, Mama used to say, still a banger, almost 40 years later. That's it for Mommy's Pocketbook. Our weekly foray into what the youth and young adults of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, what was hot in the streets, what was a banger, what were they into. Here it is, a sampling from my mommy's perspective, because from my mommy's pocketbook. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me. Deuces until the next time.